in line with my zipper. So that always goes there no matter what pants or shorts I'm wearing, and it puts my holster correctly where I want it. So I always go up the middle. Some people put their holster in the same area, but I always feel like my zipper is always more consistent than anything else. So I put that in there, I lock that in, and then everything else kind of goes around it, and I pull it around me. So that's how I set my holster up. So that's the big thing. And then, do you want me to dry fire with the open or the production gun? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay. So next thing I do, of course, is make sure it's empty, it's clear, and then I check my gear. Check my holster, that it's working, everything's good. I know I check it to see if it's in the right spot. And then I do a couple of small movements to make sure that I am warmed up. The arms are warmed up, my hands are warmed up. I have a slight, I actually have 2 slight injuries. So this one, my finger is a little swollen. I sat on it the other day, and I have a splinter that's getting, I don't know if you guys can see this, right here. It's getting infected. So I have to go to a doctor to get that out. So it hurts a little bit, but I shot today and it was fine, but it gets hit. It really hurts. So you might hear me squinch a little bit. So hold on. All right. And then I grab one of my mags. I grab one of my mags and making sure it's empty. I don't have any dummy rounds or anything at all on any of my dry fire. So I don't like to use any bullets whatsoever. I check it, triple check it. There's no bullets. So for dry fire, for me, my main thing is to really get the movement right. I just want to do this 1,000 times over and over and over. So this feels normal, and then also coming back to the holster is normal. So right now, I'm already starting to get into my dry fire. As you can see, I just moved to Florida, so I don't have all my targets yet, but I have a couple of targets. Those targets I don't like. This one, I don't like to see that in matches. So I'm gonna have that set up in my house so I can always get used to seeing it, how it looks behind my sights. And then I always have an open target with some stuff in front of it, so I can kind of pick and choose what it is. And basically I have a speed target and I have a small target. I'm lucky enough that I don't think, I personally believe that you don't need a lot of targets in your house to dry fire. Just something simple, an easy target, a hard target, and you basically cover it all depending on what you're trying to work on. So with all that said, right now I'm already starting to warm up, right? So I'm gonna move this over a little bit more so you guys can see once I start to really get going. All right. Let me see if I can get the target and me at the same time. And then I'll also face you guys so you guys can see it. Okay, so I have a couple of targets back here that I'm just gonna pick. It's just basically joints and corners of my my garage, but then here are the targets that I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna get like 2 different angles. I'm gonna draw here, and I'm gonna draw here, and then I'm also gonna draw going this way. And you're gonna see and feel. I'm also gonna do close up to what I look for in terms of the trigger. Because when I'm dry firing, the biggest thing I'm looking for is correct movement from my trigger to my movement from my draw to my reload. So I'm gonna do all of that. So first thing I'm gonna do, right? We already inspected it. I already cleared it. I'm gonna point the gun a couple times to see if I have the right point, and then I feel good now. So now I'm gonna warm up. I'm gonna go right into it. I'm gonna start always with my draw. I start with about 2 to 3 minutes of hard draw. And it looks something like this, right? I'm just gonna go into it without saying anything. And then each time I feel comfortable, I'm gonna start increasing the intensity of my draw. So basically all I'm doing is getting really comfortable with the movement of getting my gun and always presenting my gun. My goal is when I get my gun here in almost full present, right here, this is where I wanna be, right here, when I get here, I wanna start seeing my sights. I don't wanna look for it when I get here, start looking for it. I wanna start seeing my sights right here. right? So if I don't see it until I get full, if I don't see it until I get here, I have to figure out whether it's high left, high right, low left. I have to make that adjustment every single rep. So every time I do it, it will start fall in the center. So right now it's falling high left, so I'll make that adjustment. Yep, that was still not left anymore, just high, just straight high in the front, and now bring it down. Now I'm really seeing my sights right where it needs to be, and I can start to push. So once I start finding that groove from my stance to my grip, I'm going to start pushing, and I'm going to do a whole lot of reps really quickly so I memorize that positioning. This is just straight up the guy, the target in front of me. So it looks like this. As you can see, or basically here, I'm not pulling the trigger right as soon as I get there. I'm not doing this. This is a bad thing. I don't want to hear this. Right? People that practice like that is practicing several bad things. And this is the reason why I don't want to do that, is because people practice seeing bad sight picture and also practice training themselves seeing a somewhat of a sight picture and pulling the trigger. So now when they go to the range with ammo, they don't want to shoot that fast because they can't see their sights, and if they do, they have bad shots. So the big thing for me is that there's a big disconnect between dry fire and live fire. So basically they're dry firing for no reason because it doesn't help their live fire. I want to dry fire to be honest with myself, fully honest with myself, see what I need to see and pulling the trigger correctly, because it's all about movement. So here's how it looks now. I'm going to dry fire for a straight minute. I'm only pulling the trigger when the sight is completely perfect. And I'm paying attention to any extra movement. This is cool because I can see myself in video. I'm paying attention to any extra movement, whether I'm dipping, moving, or anything like that. I don't want to move anything else but my hand. The only thing that needs to move are these. That's it. Anything else is extra. So there, I fumbled my draw. Basically, I got lazy. Instead of pulling my gun up, maybe I'll point it down a little bit. Instead of pulling my gun up, I drew it straight forward. So I fixed it. It's pretty easy to fix. Sometimes I make that mistake. Just until today. So now my sight is literally landing at what I'm looking at. So when I get about, I don't know, let's say 50 reps of draws, that's what I'm looking at straight forward, then I start to play with the angles. So now I want to look over here without changing my stance and see if I can still look at something and make my sights land where I want it to go. So now it looks like this. Now I was aiming here, now I'm going to aim here without changing my stance. And the same exact thing, it's falling exactly where I'm looking at. So when I'm looking at, give you guys a visual, if I'm looking at this, my dot is landing like this immediately as soon as I'm in full presentation. Not, oh, I don't know where it is, oh, there it is, and then pull the trigger. As soon as I bring the gun up to here, and this is my target, it's falling right on that area. So now I'm going to check that again. Yep, that was just a little to the right, but it was right next to it. Yep, there it is. Now I'm going to check it again to the left now, over here, without changing my stance, still same exact thing. And basically all I'm checking is if I'm looking at whatever I'm looking at, can I put my dot on it without changing my stance? Now I'm going to adjust. And now it's the same exact thing. Now I'll start playing around with this. Now this is getting very easy for me. I'm going to do every angle behind. That's an easy target. And then I'm going to address the hard target. Hard target. And then I'm going to address a really hard target, maybe a 1-inch target on the wall. I didn't like that. I fumbled. I think I leaned forward on my draw. Much better. The less movement, the better. The easier it is to become consistent. So that's my draw. That's my warm up. That goes for about a couple minutes or so, right? And then I just work on, my goals are to make my gun land exactly where I'm looking at. So if I'm looking at a target, I'm not looking at the target. I'm looking at this specific part on the target. And when I draw, I want my gun or my sights to fall in that, whether I'm shooting iron sights or open. All right. So with that said, the next thing I'm going to do now that I'm fully warmed up, I usually don't do a full 360, but I wanted to show you guys how they look in all angles. So now that I have that warm up basically of straight draw, now I'm going to do multiple shots, multiple targets. So I'm going to work on transition. Still, you're going to notice that I'm not going to pull the trigger fast. I'm only going to pull the trigger when I see good, perfect sight picture and a good trigger press. And I want to train seeing a good sight picture and responding to that stimulus. That's the most important thing. Far too many people trick themselves to going, oh yeah, that was good enough. And then yet in the end, it really wasn't. Let me back up so you can see the gun. Maybe I'll do this a little bit more. There we go. Face this. Don't make fun because it's in Florida. It's very humid, so I get really sweaty. So now I have 3 targets. One over here, one right in front of me, and one just to the right of me. So this is my range. So now I'm going to address myself. The way I set up myself in 3 different arrays, just like this, is I set myself and square myself in the middle target, and then I turn my hips. It's all about pointing your belly button to the target that you're going to engage. If I'm targeting that without adjusting my stance, my belly button's pointed there, and if I'm targeting the middle, my belly button's pointing there, and if I'm targeting to the right, my belly button is pointing there. That's what I'm going to go for, and that's how I'm going to utilize. Not my belly button's pointing forward, not this. It's this. Does that make sense to you guys? From there, not this. It's going to be here, together. I'm making sure that from hips up is one piece of unit, not 2 separate guys moving at a different pace. So now I'm going to start to the left. I'm just going to go left to right. Sit. I'm going to start left to right again. Like it, where I'm basically, again, I'm leading with my eyes. As soon as I see it, when I bring the gun over, I want to know that my dot falls right where I'm looking at, and then I repeat that movement. Left to right, I'll do that a couple of times. Then I'm going to do right to left, right to left, right to left. Then this is kind of considered, I call it wide transition, where my eyes is leading the way, my eyes, then my gun, and then I pull the trigger. So as you can see it in slow motion. So here, my eyes, my gun, my eyes, my gun. And then if I have to go backwards, my eyes, my gun, my eyes, my gun. So that's basically the procedure of me pulling and moving gun. All right, transition. So I did a couple of right to left and left to right. Right? Now I'm going to go middle, left, right to kind of change it up. And with the gun, when you do this correctly, here's what you got to remember. When you're doing this correctly, when you bring the gun up on your first shot, when you bring the gun up on your first shot and you transition to the left, that dot should be exactly the same it looked on your first target. It's not like when you go to the left target, oh, I have to look at my dot again. And then go to the right target, oh, I have to look at my dot again. When that's happening to you, what you got to remember is something here is breaking apart. You're doing something like this where maybe the hips go first and then the body, the gun goes next, and now it changes. Or the hips doesn't move at all and you're just moving top, and now I have to look for the gun and then everything else moves. Or the last thing, you move the hips, it breaks apart the bottom, the top of the upper body and my hips, my upper body, and then it locks in. So now this movement here, and then it's shaping my dot. So what the people don't notice is that that's affecting more of your time in your transition and more of your shot also in terms of accuracy. So what's happening is people are shooting here, as they transition like this, they get to this target, their gun's shaking because my hips are doing this, My body's doing something different, and now my gun's moving around. Now you have to shoot faster, as opposed to the guy that's doing this, moving together, as opposed to this. That's the bad one. You can see the bottom part is moving, right? It's moving around too much. This is when my gun and my whole body from here and here is moving together. Not this. When you're doing that, that's affecting your sight picture and also changing your point of impact and your indexing on target, which is huge. This is how I gain time on a lot of people, right? Without having to shoot fast, I'm gaining time on them because I'm able to shoot sooner because my sights never change. So again, I want to reiterate this, that when I draw forward, I'm looking at it, it's there, boom, boom, and the sight never moves, and then the sight never moves. So I was doing too much hip dance that my mags fell. All right, so here we go again. Again, I want you to pay attention to that. It's draw, look. Basically, I'm looking at what I'm drawing, right? And look, it's there right away. Boom, boom. Second target, boom, boom. Third target, boom, boom. All good. So now I'm going to do sideways, and you can see how it looks sideways with my hips and everything else. I have two targets here and here. Right? So it's not this. That was a good one. I'll do it again. Right? It's not this. This is a bad one. I don't want to see this, and this is what I see a lot with my students. When they do that, even me right now looking at my sights, I didn't like it because my gun did this as soon as I landed on the next target. All right? So move as one unit. You want to, I'm going to lower this down a little bit so you can see here. Let me see. All right. I want you guys to drive the movement from your knees. That's it. So this and my upper body and this is all the same. Right? So when I'm here, transition. And that's on big, wide transition. But narrow transition, obviously, less movement. Not moving with my hips. Not trying to move my hips. I don't want to do that. I want to point my knees. There's my left target. There's my right target. And here's a small movement in between. It's all driven from my knees. So I wanted to make sure that you guys see that because that's a lot of people will say moving and transitioning is done and initiated through your hip because that's how we punch. We punch like this and that's how we should move. No, you want to move that as if you're throwing a hook, right? When you're throwing a hook, you want to move everything. You don't want to do this and get the stuff behind. You want to put that up and just drive it to the left. Boom. So you want to make sure everything moves together, and that's how you keep your gun, whatever you have on your first target, move to the next target, staying the same. All right. So that's basically the gist of transition. I'm gonna work my way. We're looking backwards now to kind of show you guys what I guess my hips are doing. All right. So here's how it look like. Now go right to left. Left to right again. I'm not doing this. This is the bad one. That's the bad one. And I'll do left to right, bad one. There's too much movement on the hip when I disengage, when I separate that. Does that make sense, Sylvia? Are you guys doing okay with it? Am I going too fast?
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's very clear.
Okay, and just to make sure, I'm going to set up my fan, and then maybe someone wants to ask a question in terms of transition.
Yeah, I told them at the end of this meeting, while giving the time to ask questions.
Yeah, maybe this will be the time right now. So that's a great question. Flying in front of a mirror is a very, very good technique and tool in order for you to see extra movement. I started doing that specifically when I was doing reloads. I wanted to reload, because we're going to get into reload next. I didn't see that one. So if for reference ooh, I'm only seeing part of this message. Can you, I don't know how to see that whole message. So let me address the first one first, the dry firing in the mirror. So I wanted to learn what was causing me to miss on my reload. And basically, I'm using the video. I want to start reloading and paying attention if I'm missing. So I'm not even looking at my gun, and I'm trying to see what's the movement that's causing me to miss. So right now, I'm lucky. I'm not missing much. There it is. I missed, finally. So I missed, and I'm going to pay attention to why I'm going to miss back here. If I'm missing back there, I'm going to pay attention to why. And I'm going to go, all right, this gun needs to be here. And a lot of that, instead of moving small muscle, making this small muscle adjustment, I want to make a bigger adjustment. So instead of doing this and then throwing this up in order to be in the center, it's kind of hard when I'm looking at the camera. I want to be able to see if I can drop my elbow. When I drop my elbow in, it puts it in that right direction. If this is already in the right position, pull it out, drop my elbow, and then now it puts it in the set position. So now I just got to focus on dropping my elbow. I just got to go here, drop my elbow, and it goes in. As long as this is the same, I drop my elbow, everything starts to go in. That's why when I say I'm not dry firing, I want to work on movement. I don't care if this is empty. It doesn't matter. Whether it's empty, loaded, or not, it doesn't matter because it is all about the movement. Maybe when it's weighted and it affects you, maybe the only reason why it's affecting you is because you're not affecting your movement. If something changed. So if it's a weighted mag, that's an issue, then I want you guys to make sure that to correct your movement. Maybe you're getting lazy because now it's heavier, now you're doing extra movement. That's why it's good to pay attention to the mirror. Hi, you guys say good night. Sorry, guys. Say good night. Say hi. Hey, everybody. Good night. Hi. Oh, you got your fighting stick. Okay, be careful. Trying to beat daddy up if I make a mistake. Okay. All right. Good night, guys. Love you. All right. So I hope that addressed the mirror question. I do dry fire in the mirror in front of the mirror sometimes. So look and see live to see if there's any movement. I'm doing this. I can see that. And like, oh, I don't like that. And what I discovered also in the mirror, like this, was a big thing on my jaw. I used to do this. It's a very small movement. Watch. I want you guys to see this. And that movement right here, I'm like, why am I bringing my gun up? Only to draw, and then I have to bring my gun down to catch everything. Why am I doing that? So I started to ask myself, I'm like, well, I don't need to do that. I can be here and everything goes up. It's just an extra movement. So it looks like this and at speed when I bring my hand up high. Right? It's a very small movement. There's an extra movement I didn't like. So that extra movement I started to realize is the reason why I was fumbling on here and I would mess up my receiving of the gun. So I changed it by instead of going too high, I started going lower. So here is my draw now. As you can see, it looks cleaner. Not this. I have to make an adjustment. Sometimes I'll make a mistake and all that stuff. So now on the left side, you can see it. This is a bad draw that I didn't like, and this is a good draw. So it's a very small difference, but it made huge impact on my first shot. So now instead of me 15 yards, 1.1 second per shot, now I'm at 0.95, which is huge for me as a GM because I'm always trying to save just a little bit of time and still maintain a level of accuracy. So that was one of the things I discovered while flat firing in front of a mirror. Sylvia, is there any other question that I missed? I think there were several.
So there is one asking, any particular recommendation for reference point of consistently wearing the rig or bell for the production division shooters?
Yes, so production division, I like to, my production, so it's actually funny that was asked just now because I was production shooting for since 2011. And I'll spare you guys the story of why I switched to production. But basically, I had to move. I used to have my holster here in front as an open shooter, and then I had to learn how to draw behind my hip bone because that was where production was. And so once I learned the production, I started using and just making an adjustment on my open gun draw. And I realized it didn't really make me that much slower or faster to have it whether here on the side or in front of me. The only thing that matters is when I'm in surrender position, I have to make sure, instead of dropping in the front, I have to make sure either I turn my body around a little bit just to make sure I drop on top of the gun instead of on top of my hammer, my gun. I want to be on top of my grip. I want that straight line movement all the way to the bottom of my gun. That was the only thing that I made an adjustment on. So in terms of idea, in terms of how and where, my holster, I'm lucky because I can switch literally holsters without moving the position. So with my open gun, with the Google Rivas, I can remove this holster and put the production rig on there, and it's in the same exact spot. As long as I keep the middle mag pouch in my zipper, my zip line. If I keep that together, that will be the same every single time. And so basically my draw never changes. Here's the last thing. In terms of indexing on the draw, ooh, I put that way too high. It's all right away. Let me see, give me a second. Put that way too low. All right, in terms of, let me just see. All right, so what I just did there was literally I messed around with my holster. So I was looking for the index point on my forearm, what I'm touching with my gun. So basically, literally, this part of the gun right here, my mag well, has to touch this part of my forearm. Somewhere here, it's different for everyone, but for me, if I go down, as you can see it, if I go down, here's the mag well, if I go down and touch that specific area, if I go down and touch that specific area, I know I'm ready to go and the gun is exactly where it needs to be. So when I move fast, I can be exactly perfect on that grip right away. I can be as high as possible. So up close, I'm going to make this adjustment real quick. Up close, you're going to see here, as soon as I'm in this spot, that's why you see me on the starting line, I'll move a couple times just to make sure. Once I'm there, that hand's not going to move because now my index point is where it needs to be. That mag well is touching where I want it to be. So I'll do it one more time. And I know now with confidence, because I've done it 1,000 times, that if I go as hard as I can, it's going to be a perfect grip. No matter what, it's 9.9 times out of 10. It is a perfect grip where I'm as high as possible on the web, as long as I put my forearm where I need to be, and I can go for it as hard as I can. And every single time, this is perfect because I don't have to worry about it, and I can go for it even when the gun is loaded. So that's the most important thing, is indexing, basically indexing the gun correctly, whether starting from the way you set up your belt and the way you set up your forearm. The consistency, something of routine, basically. All right, do you have any next question?
I have another question. Ask, is there any recommendation on the gym working out to improve body standing or trigger control?
So trigger control is done at home, dry fire. So I'm gonna do it close up right now, right? So when I draw, I hope I can do this right. My gun's gonna land right here. So when I draw, I'm gonna do one hand shooting right now, basically, because to basically let you guys know, dry firing is all movement, and shooting the gun with your trigger finger is also good movement. So Sylvia, you're taking a class. What's the most important thing for me before you shoot the gun on a hard target?
Relax your trigger finger. And
it's a test. What are you supposed to do before you make the shot go up on a hard target?
Oh.
Jade, help her out.
Oh.
You failed. It is, what is this called? Remember? It's, yes, Cyrus, that's right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yes, you know. All right, so basically that's what I'm practicing, all right? So you're gonna see it close up now when I draw, right? So my left hand, my grip is so aggressive, you won't see my trigger finger. So I'm gonna take away my left hand so you can see my draw on my strong hand. So basically it's gonna look like this. And basically when I got there, I'm already on the wall. I've already prepped it. This is a Beretta, so it's a really very small prep, right? So I'm very lucky to have a gun that has a very small prep. But basically all I do is when I draw, in slow motion, as soon as I get on target, I remove that slack. And I practice that movement 1,000 times. I go there as fast as I can, but the biggest thing is I don't pull the trigger until I have a perfect side picture. So again, we're gonna do it again. It'll look like this. In slow motion, draw, gun comes out, safety comes down, and then right around here, finger comes in. There it is. Then I sit there for a second, then I pull the trigger. And I'll do it again. Slow motion, it looks like this. Boom, safety comes down, full extension, trigger is in there, looking for my sight, perfect. And then not only am I doing that on every single one of my dry fire, whether it's two hand or one hand, the next thing I'm actually doing is as soon as I pull the trigger, I prep the trigger. As soon as I pull the trigger, I reset and prep again. Boom, I reset and prep again. Even with a trigger that's already dead, I can reset and prep again and break it. Reset and prep and break it. And I can do this with any gun, whether I'm shooting production or when I'm shooting 2011. Here's the production version of this gun. So the only difference is this is a double action, single action gun. Clear, right? So this is a double action, single action gun. So when on my dry fire, I'll work on the double action. I'll go to 90%, and then I break the shot. And then as soon as I break the shot, I will reset and prep quickly, reset and prep, only to here. I don't go all the way out because that means it's too far of a movement. All I'm working is within that double action trigger, I reset and prep as if I was already in single action. That movement is the same exact thing. Boom, reset and prep, boom, reset and prep, boom. And the same thing, if I don't pull the trigger or slide the hammer, boom, reset and prep, boom, reset and prep, boom, reset and prep, without activating the double action. All I'm working on is correct movement with the gun. That is bottom line with me. So I work on correctly pulling the trigger on hard targets. There's two trigger pulls I do. Hard target pull with hard target shots, which is any small or hard target. I prep the trigger first, look at the sight, and then I break the shot. Or if it's an easy target like that, right? I float my finger off the trigger, and then I just run it. You can see it, ba-ba, ba-ba. That's how I do speed shooting. And then I go to control, prep again, boom. I prep again, boom. For any shots and targets like that. Targets like that at 5 yards, 7 yards, it looks like this. That's how it looks like. Does that make sense, Sylvia? Hope that was clear.
I'll remember.
Attack versus control, remember?
Yeah. So the Nick asking how long is the average dry fire session for you?
So in the beginning, when I was still learning, my average dry fire was about an hour, 1 hour in the beginning. Now, maybe I would say I do about 300 days a year. I do about 15 minutes, maybe. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, but 90% of the time, maybe 15 minutes. It's just draw, multiple target draw, and then reload. Like this would be my reload draw part right here. It would be draw, reload, boom. That one I messed up. Now my elbow got lazy. I'm making an adjustment. Oh, too much of an adjustment, right? So I made too much of an adjustment. I start falling in the front. And then basically to the point where I'll get it right. Right now I'm messing up. That's okay. You make mistakes, right? And then all of a sudden it will all come together. Keep working and paying attention to your mistakes. It starts to come together, and then no longer, or the mistakes start to really go away. And some of you guys are actually probably looking that I'm bringing my gun down to reload, only to go back up. That's just a technique. That's not wrong. That's not the right way. That's not the only way. Sometimes, or some people like to reload up here, and it's totally fine. But it's not any faster. It's not any slower. I can tell you that, because here, for me personally, I make more mistakes when I'm reloading up here. So I had to learn how to reload down here and then bring it back up. And I can still reload. Here's a good standard for any of you guys out there. You want to get good, or you want to measure yourself on something. From here, from the aimed in position on the sound of the buzzer, beep, bang, reload, bang, 2 alphas at 7 yards, under 1 second reload, right? Under 1 second time. So from here, aiming in on the sound of the buzzer, beep, reload, and fire again, right? So it's gonna be beep, bang, reload, bang. So here's what most people don't know. I am very risk averse. I am very safety conscious. So what people don't know is when I reload, I put my safety up. So when I reload, so this is my reload, right? So my safety is down, yes? My safety is down, now it's up. Now it's down, you can hear it, right? So right now it's up and it's down. It looks like this, boom, boom, boom. Oh, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Drop the mag, safety goes up, reload, safety goes back down, boom, 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 boom. So a long time ago, I made a mistake as a kid when I did a reload and I hit the magazine well hard in my finger, even though it was out, it hit it and then I fired a bullet. So ever since then, I didn't want to do that. It scared me. I don't want to be DQ'd. I'm lucky it was in practice. So now in practice, I started to realize that I can hit the safety since after I hit the mag button, I can hit the safety on the way up. So I just leave it up there on the reload. I click it back down. So if anything happens here, even if I pull the trigger, nothing happens until I put the safety down. So it's never slowed me down. So it looks like this at speed. In slow motion, it looks like this. Safety down, boom, safety up, safety, finger back down. Again, safety down right now, down, this is up, this is down. It looks like this, slow motion. Boom, up, magazine, in, safety down, finger in. At speed, it looks like this. Up, don't laugh. So here we go. At speed, that's all it is. You can hear, if you pay attention clearly, you can hear the clicking. Right, so the clicking is when I'm putting the safety up or down. So it's never really slowing down. So at distance now, in full view, it looks like this. So you can see it doesn't really slow down. It doesn't even look like it. It's a split second, but that split second has saved me because I've been running in a field course. When I run, safety goes up on a reload, and then this magazine falls, and I've had to try to catch it like this. And my finger went in the trigger, but good thing my safety was up. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have been DQ'd, right? Because it would have gone up, but I was lucky because my safety is up. Every time I move from position, boom, boom, my safety goes up. Even if I'm not going for a reload, boom, boom, safety goes up. I'm just very safety conscious. I don't want to get DQ'd for no reason. So that's just something I do, something I wanted to share, and something many people don't know that I do during my reloads. But I learned all that through live fire. I didn't do it in live fire.
Oh my God. I don't know if I even didn't know you are putting the safety on.
Yeah, I do it all the time,
Any people has other questions?
Any other questions? And then, because I'm going to go right into reload live fire right now. No question. Nothing?
Hey, JJ, this is
Hey, buddy, what's up?
Hey, how are you? I got 2 questions for you regarding transition.
Yeah.
So first, when you do transition, you said you move like one unit and always lead the movement with your knees, right? And when you do, so do you keep your feet still, or when you move your feet, when you move your knees, you actually move your feet in the same time?
So this is my stand, my right foot, my left foot. Yes, right?
Yeah.
So when I move, if it's a really big transition, so I'm going to show you a visual. So let's say my target's over here to my left and to my right. It's really wide, right? I have to go here to here. My feet will do this. It's going to point, my left foot's going to point to the left target, right? So I can open my hips up to it. But then my right foot's going to be kind of straight, not directly to the right target, right? This is where my right target is. This is where it is. This is how it shifts. As soon as I move, it'll be this, and I'll move with it. So my feet actually will move with my knees. My feet will be the one that moves. Boom, boom, right? That's on a wide transition. On a match narrow transition, like an out press, boom, 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 my feet will not move. I'll set myself up. It's all here. It'll be this. Boom, 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 boom. It'll just be boom, 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 boom. My feet is not moving. I don't need to move because there's no opportunity for me to move. If I do move my feet, it also affects my sight picture. So that's why I don't want to move anything in a very quick transition. So there's two types of transition. There's narrow and there's wide. When it's wide, the technique slightly changes. And then here's the big thing about transition. It's all about your exit and last shot before you leave that target. If you go bang, bang, and then flat line all the way across, it doesn't matter how fast your transition is, you've lost a lot of time. You need to go bang and let the recoil take you. And the way to think about it is, as I pull the trigger, I pull the gun with my trigger. I pull the trigger, I pull the gun with it, and that's how I dry fire. So basically, I dry fire this transition, it'll be prep the trigger, boom. As soon as I pull the trigger, you can hear the click, I move the gun. I don't wait and sit there and go boom and then move, right? So I look at it this way. Just remember this: 3 places you can lose time on any movement: the exit, the in between, the run or the transition, and then the entry. So if I'm moving from position to position, if I'm going from here to run to this, right? It'll be from here, my exit, how quickly I can exit, how I exit, the run in the middle, and then also the entry. Those are 3 places you can lose time. And a lot of people actually lose time on the exit. If you, like later on, when we go forward with this and you show me a field course video, I can show you specifically on certain areas a pretty good guesstimate and approximate time on where you lose and how much you lost on that field course. And I can tell you on that field course alone, if you did this correctly, this exit, this entry, you could probably say 2 to 3 seconds, maybe sometimes 6 seconds, if you just did it correctly on the movement without even really shooting faster yet. We're just talking about movement and how you enter the position, how you exit the position, whether it's a good plan or a bad plan. I can save you time by showing you how to correctly exit, how to correctly enter, and all that stuff. So same with the transition, from target to target, there is an exit, there's a transition in between, and then there's an entry, right? So then we have to talk about all those things in terms of specific detail, because how you exit, and I know Sylvia knows this, it's either pump, letting the recoil take you, where you pull the trigger and you go, but there's a right technique to do it, and there's also a wrong way to do that, or a flat transition, which is fire, gun comes back before your transition. So you already lost easily 0.3 of a second on just this area alone, not including everything else that we're going to do. That's a good question that you asked. So the positioning, if it's wide, my feet will literally move around. If it's a narrow transition, nothing. I just move my knees. I adjust my knees and my feet will lock in to position where my toes are literally grabbing onto the ground, and I'm just moving my knees back and forth. That's all it is. And sometimes if it's really narrow, I don't even move my knees. It's literally just like a twitch almost, essentially. This is how it would look like. Right? And a little wider, you can see my knees and my legs are starting to get influenced by it. And then a really big one, you can see I'm twisting my feet back and forth. It looks something like that. I hope that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Very good. Absolutely. You're very welcome. That was a good question.
I have the people asking, oh, can you please do a draw in slow motion?
Draw in slow motion, like this. So I'm going to do forward, side, side. All right? So draw in slow motion looks like this. All right? Same thing. Draw in slow motion looks like this. Sideways. And to the right, same thing. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm actually not trying to go from here, bring the gun in the middle. I'm actually trying to keep it on this side. That's the big thing. I want you guys to pay attention. I don't want you guys to draw and then come to the middle, because you're only going to push it back to the right, because this is my strong eye, unless you're left eye dominant. So then if you're left eye dominant, then yeah, you go straight to the left side of your face. But for me, I'm going to keep it on the right side. So in the front, it'll look like this. See, I keep it all here on the right side. So I'm going to draw right on the target or right on the camera. It's going to be here, right into the camera. I'm not going to go from here meet in the middle, only go back in the camera. So it looks like the gun movement is going from here to here. I just want to go straight across. And for me, the draw stroke on the holster is 1/4 of an inch. So as soon as it comes out of the holster, my gun turns towards the target. That's it.
Another question is how to fast the accurate the side picture from the holster, and do you feel more about the squeezing and holding the pistol?
So gripping, he's talking about grips. That's such a good question. Here, I have 2 things to show you about grip. I have this thing that I work on and use. It's from about 20 pounds of pressure all the way up to 90 pounds of pressure, but just adjusting this, right? So right now I have it all adjusted all the way to about 90 pounds of pressure, right? So 90 pounds of pressure, now it's really hard. And what I do is I manipulate the grip, not my trigger finger, I manipulate my grip, how I do my grip on the gun. So my grip on the gun, my goal is, before I even get here in terms of pressure, I want to show you guys my grip. My grip, I want to have two hammers here. My grip is not really hard in terms of squeezing my finger. It is more about leverage. My pinky and my thumb. My pinky and my thumb is the one that drives these 2 hammers together. That's it. It's like throwing my thumb forward. It's like this. My pinky and my thumb is forward. So it locks my wrist and I'm using this muscle. So it's like this. So on a gun, it's this, my pinky and my thumb. It looks like this. That's it. Depending on the gun, I might not be too aggressive on it, but then it'll point down. I might just do this. And my thumb, instead of pushing forward, I might just push up as high as I can on the gun. So it's different. But I want to show you guys on this, the pinky, both of them, and the thumb, because that gives me the most leverage on the gun, right? I don't need to squeeze the gun hard. I just need to have the right technique on it. So when I do that, I both hands do this. And then the last thing I do is, the reason why I have 2 things is I want to show you guys. I push it forward and then I twist, not with my elbow, but with my wrist right here. Boom, watch my elbow not move. I twist my wrist in. That's it. Forward and twist my wrist. I twist my wrist in. When I twist my wrist in, that gives me the torsion, not my elbow. I don't do this. I go here and right here. It's all wrist pressure. So on a gun, it looks like this. Here and here, and then I twist my wrist in. You can see it as I squeeze in. There it is. I'm exaggerating it. You can see. I squeeze this part of my palm into the top of the gun with my wrist. And then on this part right here of my strong hand, I squeeze it into the gun as well. So a lot of pressure is placed on the top part of the gun right here. So a lot of pressure is in there. And then the only thing holding in the bottom is my pinky and the other pinky on the other side. And the pinky and the thumb, right? That's one. And then when I'm working on my grip strength, to increase strength on my forearm, sorry, I have this is really badly injured right now, so I can't really squeeze good. But basically, I know that I am going to be, my position is going to be this. It's going to be this. So I'm squeezing in sideways. So I actually, instead of just holding it like this straight, I actually turn it like this, and I squeeze in, and I turn in my hand. Instead of just holding the hand straight like this, and then working out like this, it's all good, but that's not what I use with my gun, because I don't hold the gun like this. I hold the gun like this because I want this to be lined up with my wrist. So my hand needs to look like this. Instead of holding like this, I turn it in and I squeeze, then I push forward. And that's how I work on my grip. Turn it in and I point my knuckles and my thumb forward. And that's how I work that muscle there and the muscle down here. The left hand is a little bit different. The left hand, because my thumb is on the other side, I work on just putting the thumb up here and turning the same exact thing. I turn it like this, right? So that's how I work my grip. I turn it in, and then I hold it. I turn it in. As opposed to just holding it straight like this and practicing, I'm actually turning it and holding. And then release. Turn it and hold it and then release. So now, when I actually hold my gun, when I do something like that, I feel like the gun is not strong enough. I feel like I'm gonna bend it if it was plastic. When I work up correctly. So I just squeeze both of them in, and then in the last thing is torsion here. I don't just squeeze here. When you do the elbow, you have to learn to not to stop the elbow, because the elbow has to act as a shock absorber. You lock it up, that gun's gonna do this into the shoulder, and then it's gonna do this, right? So if you break this elbow down a little bit, this is gonna do this now. You might do this, but it's gonna do this. But yeah, that's the thing. So most people think, oh yeah, it's lifting up more. Yeah, but it's lifting up more, but what you have to see in iron sights is that it's not doing this. Boom, 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 meaning it's not doing this. It's doing, because if you have your elbows locked, it's gonna go here. It's gonna do this bang, 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 bang. So your sights are constantly moving like this or like this. You have two different units. You have the front sight and the rear sight. So you look like this, boom, 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 boom. So now your sights are doing this if your wrist or elbow is locked, and so now your wrist is doing this. If you bend that elbow a little bit back, it becomes this. The wrist doesn't bend as much, but then you're able to use the elbow as a shock absorber. So when you see me shoot, it's boom, 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 boom. The gun is moving. It looks like it's moving, but the entire time I'm seeing my sights. This is better to use an iron sights example. I'm seeing my sights like this, boom, 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 boom. It might lift up a little bit, but it comes back together. In slow motion, it looks like this, boom, sights together, comes back together. If I lock my wrist out, it looks like this, boom, sights, the front sight went up, the rear sight goes up, the front sight goes down, the front sight, and it does this, boom, boom. It is doing this a lot. When you bend your elbow, it's gonna do this, boom, 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 boom. That's the movement versus boom, boom. Because the difference is the wrist is getting involved a lot because you locked out your elbow. That's the big difference there.
So we're gonna have the last question because it's already 9 o'clock.
Oh, sorry. It's so much fun to do this. There's so much to cover.
Fast. So last question is when you start the transition the gun to the next target, you move the gun immediately after you hear the shot. Do you actually move your eyes first or move eye together with the guns?
So that's such a great, oh man. All right, so that's a really good question, because it's really hard for me to answer that without actually showing you guys a demo, shooting demo essentially. So here's my answer to that. I have to draw, give me a second. I'm gonna grab a marker or a pencil. I believe I have one. Let me see. Here. All right. You guys see this? So there's two types of transition, as I mentioned. There's narrow and there's wide, right? Jay, you guys didn't get this. This is something that I've been teaching a little bit. All right, here we go. So if I have, let's put it this way, a target, how do I do this and illustrate this? Okay, so if I have a target, you guys see that? Back there. If I have a target there, sorry, maybe I need, you guys have a minute. I'm just gonna grab a better marker.
Sure.
Can I get a minute? Sorry. Let me just grab a better marker.
So while we're waiting, JJ, then just a quick introduce for our courses. He is planning to do the 3 courses, and each course is going to be each course is going to be 1 hour, and we are asking for the $50 Canadian dollar, $50 for these 3 courses. And if you are interested, you can always send us the email to store@solioutdoors.com. 这个我们请今天 JJ 上的这节课呢，我们是免费的，但之后呢，如果感兴趣的话， 大家可以上这个课程是3节课，每节课1小时，我们那个费用是50块钱，总共上3节课，因为是网课，所以这个价钱真的很划算。Yeah, this one is much clearer.
Good. So this is, let's just say this is, oh, you know what? I'll face it correctly. I'll turn the camera so it's a much better orientation. Let me see if I can do that. There we go. Here. All right. So if I have a target, can you see it, Sylvia? Is that okay? If I have a target about 1 meter away, right, to the next target, I call that narrow transition. That's obviously narrow, it's a very short transition, okay? So when I'm doing that type of transition from this target to this target, what you have to remember is, remember the Sylvia, the 90-10 concept? You guys remember? Oh, you failed.
90, what is 90-10? The 90 waiting and 10 you move.
Correct. So it's basically here, right? Do you remember this? You remember this test? Remember something like this? Where you drive here on the target, drive fast on the target. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
The only way I can get from this point right here all the way to this point really fast is I have to go really fast and then control the last 10%. So basically 10% is accuracy.
90 the movement.
And then 90% is speed, right? So here, when it's narrow transition, the reason why this is so important, and that's why it's such a good question, and this is where the class really, really takes off, is that when you have a narrow transition, there is no 90%. 90% here, 90% here doesn't exist. You are left with basically 10%. So when you're in 10%, the goal is accuracy and precision. So when you're transitioning on a narrow transition, you're following your sights. You draw out, you're looking at your sight, boom, boom. Your eyes may lead a little bit, but it's not gonna leave the gun because you're looking at your sights correctly. You have to stay with, especially with iron sights. If I'm looking at my sights, boom, boom, I'm gonna look at that as I transition, boom, 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 boom. So I can see my sights as soon or before I even get to the target. If I look ahead, if I look at my sight picture, if I do this, if I look at this, boom, boom, and I look ahead, I have no idea where my sights are now for me to look over here and go, oh, I have to make an adjustment now when I get to the next target. So there's no time for that, only when you're doing wide transition. When you're doing wide transitions, here's, I'm gonna flip it again. When you're doing wide transitions, you're talking now, well, maybe I gotta move it over. You're talking maybe, let's say 4 meters apart. Now, 4 meters. Now you have from here, bang, on your last shot, the gun goes up. This entire point right here, that's your 90%. And that goal here is all speed. Your goal there is to be really fast. Over here is your last 10%. And 10%, that's when you become, or try to become, more accurate. All right? So when you're 90% accurate, so here's how it would look like. On a big wide transition. What's under here? Why does that look like that? Okay. On a big wide transition, it looks like this. Boom, boom. My eyes will now lead the way because here in the 90%, I don't need to be accurate. I don't need to look at my sights. I just need to be fast. So it looks like this. Boom. I look fast. I'd even drop my gun a little bit or pull my gun in a little bit. And then I look at the target. And as soon as I get to the 10%, that's when I start to become accurate. And to become accurate, I have to bring my gun up. in order for me to see my sights, in order for me to pull and prep my trigger. So that's the two difference there. And that's such a big, large topic to cover here on video, but you can see and notice the difference when guys are shooting narrow transitions and they're looking ahead. They're going boom, 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 and then their target, the rest of their target are getting worse and worse because they're no longer seeing the same sight picture they had on the first target. As opposed to the guy that's staying with the sight, boom, 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 boom. They're seeing those sight picture all the way through as they shoot and engage all the targets. I hope that makes sense. Also, to you, it was a good reminder.
My memory. So bad a student.
That's okay. It's been a long time. It's been at least a year.
All right, so you want to have a short introduce for these three courses, what's going to be covered, or?
Yeah, so on those courses, so basically what we're going to do is on these video conferences that we do, what we'll do is that we can do a dry fire session together, and then maybe there'll be someone or everyone will be dry firing with me, and you'll try to keep up with my pace so you get a feel of exactly what a dry fire session should feel like. And I'll talk you guys through it. If there's any question, it's going to be a very open discussion, basically, dry firing. The second thing, as we end that session, what we'll do is maybe either get one or two of the students that are in the video conference we can do is a video, like you can send me a link prior to the class, several links of your videos in YouTube or whatever, or so you can send me a video itself and I can download it or whatever, and we can play it, and I can break down your movement according to that video, and show you exactly how it will, what I'm looking for, where you're losing time. And once you have this awareness of where you're losing time, you can start having your progression, because now you can see and that happening. Every time you see that, you're like, that's incorrect. How do I correct that? And that's the next level of awareness. Once I show you the technique and all this thing, now you're going, I got to work on that technique in order for this to be better. And we can do that every single time, every single session. We can throw another student. You can see there's going to be very similarities and common deficiencies for every single shooter out there. When I watch a shooter shoot, when I'm competing against Max, when I'm competing against Eric Graffel, all the thing I'm watching is how they move. I can't listen to the way they shoot because everyone shoots fast. I just want to look at their footwork, how they're entering, how they're leaving, and if they are losing any time here or there. And if they give me any time there or here, I'm going to take advantage of it and not have to worry about shooting any faster than them. I just have to execute my movement better, and I can save my time there.
All right, thank you. Just to explain in Chinese. 就是说呢，我们这个3节课呢，一个半小时呢，这个 JJ 会给我们讲解这个上课这个我们打比赛需要注意的事项。然后呢，他每一期我们会抽其中1-2个同学的视频 ，JJ 会告诉你在这个视频当中你存在哪些问题，需要怎样。每一期都会抽1-2个同学。这个就是我们大概准备的去做的这个课程。如果感兴趣的同学呢，可以加我们的微信，也可以给我邮件到 store@solioutdoors.com 去报名参加。So basically, today is the end of the section. We really appreciate JJ for your time, like 1 hour 50 minutes, a really long time, and the time goes fast. And appreciate he share so detail of how to improve the shooting, and refresh my memory. Even I spent $1,000 to take in the courses, but now like it's a 3 course, only $50. It's really valuable, and he is the one really concentrate on the detail. And once you improve the detail and you really get the good shooting grouping and getting faster movement and getting accurate after taking the course. So I really recommended him as the instructor for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Really good seeing you. Be safe, guys. Very welcome, everybody. Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks, JJ.
有一个是想直接